When you open a book, a whole new world comes to life. And you just never know who you're going to meet.
Ah, humbug.
Read a book and experience the wonder. Discover the fun and become part of something magical.
What's happening?
Read A Christmas Carol and other books online. Go to read.gov. Explore new worlds. Read.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of our radio affiliates throughout Lancaster and beyond. Do appreciate each and every one of you joining us each and every week. And certainly I'm thankful for the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy, the students that put this program together, and also Kelly Roberts, our executive producer. Have a great show, a very timely show as we go into the Christmas season. With us is Jason Coy with the Lancaster Fire Department, fire inspector?
Yep.
And so how long have you been with the fire department, Jason?
A little over 10 years.
Wow. 10 years? And are you from the Lancaster area?
No, I originally was from around the Ashland, Mansfield area up north.
Okay.
And I moved down here for the job.
It's a great job. You guys do a great job.
I love it.
It's a fun job, isn't it? I mean, you learn a lot and see a lot of different things. And so what does the fire inspector do?
We go around and check every school building, every commercial building, industrial building, the mall, any new construction that's built, commercial, we go and check that.
Okay. So what are some of the common things that you see as far as areas that need to be addressed?
The extinguishers in the buildings, we make sure they're there. We make sure they're serviced every year by a licensed company. Same goes with the sprinkler systems, the fire alarm systems, make sure they're checked by a licensed company and work in working order. And then just general fire safety concerns, extension cords, portable heater use, make sure there's no other violations that kind of pop out at us that could be an issue, maybe not that day, but it could be an issue later on down the road.
Right. Now, as we closing in on Christmas, hard as that is to believe,
Yep.
You got your Christmas shopping done?
Nope.
Okay. That's an easy question.
Yep.
What are some things that our viewers and listeners need to be thinking about as they go out and, let's start with the obvious. People are buying Christmas trees at this time of the year. What are some things they need to think about?
You need to make sure you follow the suggestions about cutting. Say you go out and you buy a tree, you need to cut like 2 inches off the bottom when you get it home.
Okay.
And that's so it's got a fresh cut, and when you put that in the water, you need to make sure you have a stand that has water or the ability to hold water. And then you need to make sure you water it every day or make sure it has enough water in it. The tree will start to dry out because it's been cut, and it'll start to dry out, and that's when it becomes really dangerous, is when it starts to dry.
Okay. What are some things that causes the tree to catch on fire?
You can have, if you, let's say a 8-foot ceiling and you want the tree to touch the ceiling, that's not normally a good idea because heat rises.
Okay.
And heat will go up to the top of the tree and start to brown the tree, dry out the tree from the top down, just from your natural heat or the heat you're producing in the house. When a tree dries out, it's a lot easier to catch fire. If you're not watering it, it's too high to the ceiling. You want a little bit of a buffer between the ceiling height and the top of the tree. Any sort of arc or flame could set that tree off, and within a matter of seconds it could fill the whole room full of smoke, and you should be out the door before that ever happens.
So sometimes, like, it could be electrical problem with the lights on the tree?
Yeah, the lights you buy, the old days where they actually put candles on trees are thankfully long gone.
Yes.
But now even the commercial Christmas lights you buy can short and have problems. That's why when you're setting up your tree, you need to examine the wires, make sure there's no frayed wires, no wires exposed,
Right.
No pinched wires where it could potentially have a fault and catch fire. They also recommend, look on the box when you buy the Christmas lights, they recommend no more than 3 strings tied together. Some of them have changed, but normally it's about 3 strands, so you have to make sure.
Well, that's
you look
important because as we talked before airtime, I wasn't aware of that because I see a lot of times they put 5, 6 on the same connect.
Yeah, and that's really thin wire. If you look at the Christmas tree lights, it's a really small gauge wire. It's not real thick like your other appliances, like a refrigerator is really thick. So it's really small gauge wire, so you need to be really careful with those because they can get pinched, they can come undone, and you could have the wires exposed, causing a problem.
And a lot of things kind of come to mind as we come to the Christmas season. A lot of people have a lot of candles out.
Yes.
And I would think that's probably one of the leading causes of house fires.
Yeah, when Christmas time, around the holidays, and when the power goes out also, people like to light candles just so they can see. And they go to bed, they thought they blew it out, they didn't. Next thing you know, we're knocking on their door because they have a house fire, a neighbor called it in.
Right.
So it's really a good idea to make sure every candle, walk the house 2 or 3 times before you go to bed and make sure all the candles are out.
And it's probably a good time to talk about some things that you need to do as a family as far as an escape plan, some prevention things that they need to do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Every year we do what's called Safety Town at the elementary schools, or elementary schools come together, and we do several kids, I forget what the exact number is now, but we teach them to get low and go. And basically that's just telling them that if they're in bed and they hear a smoke alarm going off or they see smoke, to roll out of their bed. They are supposed to crawl to their door, check the door with the back of their hand, not the front, check it with the back, and feel the doorknob and make sure it's not hot. If the door's hot, we tell them there's fire on the other side, don't open the door. And we tell them to go to a window, and if they can, if it's on the first floor, to crawl out that window. If it's not, they would need to sit by the window and yell for help, and when we get there, we'll hear it, and then we can put a ladder up and get them out of that window. But if the door is cool, we teach them to look out the door like they're hiding behind a shield, look out the door, and if they think they can make it, there's no smoke or anything, then stay low, still crawl, and crawl outside and go to your safe meeting place. And a safe meeting place is something that needs to be predetermined with the entire family.
Okay.
It can't be a car or anything that can move. It needs to be something stationary.
Well, that's a great point because some people would say, go to the car. Yes.
Don't meet at mom's car because mom could be at work when something happens. So you want to have it like a tree, a neighbor's porch, something that's close to the house but far enough away that if it's on fire, you're not in danger. And then the first truck that pulls up from the fire department or first police officer, whoever shows up first, they need to tell them, do a head count and say everybody's out, or no, we're missing Jimmy and his bedroom's up on the 2nd floor, and kind of tell us where to go. So it's really good to have an escape plan, talk with your kids. It's pretty amazing how young kids are when they can grasp this stuff. Mm-hmm. My 4-year-old daughter knows what to do in case of a fire, and she knows where to go in case of a fire, and she doesn't need us to help her. She knows what she's supposed to do. Now, she's had the training, but everybody knows, you hopefully fall back on your training in an emergency situation, but there's several times where you forget. So you need to practice that. It's a good idea. We have the schools practice every month, but it's a good idea to do it in your own house. If not every month, at least every couple months, to practice with your kids, act like there's a fire, and actually go through the whole motions of crawling and getting out and meeting at the safe meeting place.
Well, that's a great idea. What about, I can remember when my kids were little, we had at that time a 2nd-story house, and we actually had purchased some of the ropes, some of the metal ropes that would come out, they could put out the window and climb down. Any advantage there?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
they're called escape ladders.
Okay.
And there's several different kinds. There's kinds that you can actually hook on the windowsill. You open the window and you hook it, and it kind of helps support it so you can climb down. You just have to make sure you order the right kind, because if you're on second story, third story, measure your height first before you ever go buy one to make sure it's going to reach the ground.
No, that's a good point.
You don't want to be 10 feet short. And I mean, in case of a fire, I'd hope you'd still jump that 10 feet, but it'd still be better to have it go all the way down to the ground. And they make other ones that actually recess into the wall underneath windows. They're a little more pricier, but you can buy them, so there's no chance of you hooking it up wrong. It's just opening the door, open the window, throw it out, and it uncoils itself. And it's already anchored, so you don't have to worry about it not being anchored.
Now, tough question. Let's say that you have a area where everybody's supposed to meet outside. You go out there and maybe the dog's not there. Maybe one of the kids aren't there. Go back in, or, and I know that's a tough call.
Yeah, it's, being a parent myself,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell parents not to go back in the house for a loved one or a pet or anything.
Right.
Because pets are like children.
Sure.
And it's hard to tell them that, but they need to know you're just going to put yourself in danger by going back in there. We'll be there very quick. I know it seems like forever,
Right.
but we will be there very quick, and we will rescue whatever pet, child, anybody. Will be able to rescue them. Don't go back in. A lot of times in stories we've had or seen on the news, the parent will go back in. Well, the kid makes it out, but the parent didn't, because the parent didn't know where the kid was, or kid wasn't where they thought it was, and they go searching and they get succumbed to smoke, and then we end up finding the parent inside. Animals, especially dogs, cats, they're already low to the ground, so we
Right.
usually find them underneath beds. And when we're searching the house, we lift up a bed or look under a bed, and there's a unhappy dog right there. A lot of times, as soon as they see us, they bolt and they'll run out the door, and then, you know, a day later they may come back to the house, to the family. But don't ever go back inside, because you'll just be another victim.
Now, as far as extension cords, that's another thing that's important, especially as where you go into Christmas time. Some tips on extension cords.
Extension cords are meant to be for temporary use only. If you have a fan you want to run a hot day, you want a fan in the middle of the room, that's fine. If it's plugged in 24 hours a day, it's not temporary. You need to have an electrician put in an outlet, or you need to use surge strips, the long multi-tap cords. The cords on the end that plug into the wall usually come in about 3-foot sections.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them all the way up to, I believe, 30 feet long. So you just have to look when you go to the store to buy them. Measure the distance you need it to go, and don't plug one into another. We call it piggybacking.
Okay.
You're basically taking an outlet that's supposed to have 2 things plugged in, and with that surge strip you can have up to 8 things or more plugged into it. But then if you put another surge strip on there, you've actually doubled that amount. That's a lot of juice being pulled from that one plug.
Jason, we are running out of time. Can you come back with us next week?
Sure.
We have Jason Coy, Lancaster Fire Department Inspector, and do appreciate the service that you've done. And I'll tell you, you've given us so much information. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about fire smoke alarms. We're going to talk about carbon monoxide. We're going to talk about generators, because we have a lot of issues with people now using generators when their power goes out. Lots of stuff. We could probably do a number of shows, but we want you back next week to talk about those items and a lot of different things. Do appreciate you being with us. And again, I'm thankful for the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy, Kelly Roberts, our executive producer, and certainly you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. Until next week, same time, same place. If you're driving, buckle up. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
Thanks for coming.
Are we in trouble?
No, you're not in trouble. I just want to set some ground rules.
Like what?
Well, remember last week when you hit Vinny in the head with the shovel?
I do not recall that.
Of course not. Well, it was pretty graphic. Too graphic for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
You know, I got to make this up to you. This is Vinny's watch, and I want you to have it. You deserve it.
No, thank you. That's really not necessary.
No, come here.